paradigms, including intergovernmental guidelines for sustainable development and circular economy, require strategic review of the textile and apparel industry and expand the complexity of design process related to environmentally responsible production and consumption. So, sustainable development is a very challenging objective for fashion, considering production is constantly increasing and clothes are underused. However, the assumption here is that design can create convergent alternatives for sustainability and circularity. Thus, the objective of this study was to characterize a design guided by environmental concerns and active in the sector of the textile and apparel industry. This is a qualitative research based on literature review. Therefore, we try to understand how design contributes to the textile and apparel industry, identifying action areas and recommendations for the environmental dimensions of sustainable development. So we have focused on environmental dimensions of development. To that end, we organized the literature review connecting two axes. The first one is design driven by environmental concerns while building the present offer and strategic perspective for the future, as the following items converge. So, focus points of design for sustainability in major industry context, sustainability-oriented design interventions, design-related areas in the fashion and in the textile and apparel industries, based on change in the material system and social models, product service system for sustainable clothes, and systemic change to deeply transform society are required to tackle the existing tension between environmental limitations and the growth paradigm. So the second axis consists in intergovernmental guidelines created within the scope of the United Nations system and international forums addressing environmental issues. Explicitly or not, these three documents were produced in the context of the transition to circular economy. So we are talking about Agenda 21 and efficient waste management, Agenda 2030, and the connection between three dimensions of sustainable development in addition to sustainable development goals, and the sustainable fashion communication strategy, and the planning of a positive perspective for the future. Consequently, these three documents contribute to the planning of environmental actions by influencing players in local actions, but with the potential to leverage global change through contemporary production and consumption relationships aligned with the circular economy. In this context, the notion of circularity seeks to slow down the relationships between the industry and the while extending life cycles driven by the way materials, products, and services are designed, consumed, used, and discarded. For that reason, there is indeed a space of opportunities for design oriented to environmental sustainability. So this research has resulted in the proposal of three design strategies for the environmental dimension of sustainable development in the textile and apparel industry, highlighting action areas and recommendations. So the next three slides, I will summarize each of these strategies. And it's important to say that recommendations regarding the design strategies, in addition to specifically related SDGs, are detailed in the full article because of the time of this presentation here. So the strategy 1 is designed for responsible textile and apparel production. And the design strategy is based on the notion that production inputs and the products themselves are efficient instruments to prevent environmental damage, and that the concept of circularity needs to be embedded in early stage design activities, permeating the entire development process and determining all of these life cycle stages, including related services. So in the figure shows an interpretive synthesis that consolidates the literature review and lists 5 design activity areas: textile raw material production, production, weaving and processing, apparel industry manufacturing, business model for reuse, and utilization of parts and leftovers. You can see in the figure the SDGs related to this design strategy. The second strategy is designed for responsible textile and apparel consumption. And this strategy is based on the notion that more responsible consumption modes are inevitable in the search for sustainability, and that garments are efficient instruments to prevent environmental damage by intensifying an adequate utilization of such goods, its parts, also the residues. The figure shows an interpretive synthesis that consolidates the literature review and lists 4 design activity areas: technical durability, aesthetical durability, emotional bond, reutilization of post-use materials, and the figure shows 2 the SDGs related to the strategy. And strategy 3 is designed for raising awareness about and enabling responsibility in the textile and apparel industry. This strategy is based on the argument that systematic change and acceleration of transition process into circular economy require change in individual and collective mindset and behaviors among all stakeholders, namely manufacturing organizations, citizens and consumers in general, public policymakers, as well as non-government organizations and media and communication companies. This strategy includes approaches involving stages that precede the textile and fashion design project. Basically, the figure shows an interpretive synthesis that consolidates the literature review, and it's dedicated to 2 design action areas. The first one is generate alternatives for the future, and the second is forging partnerships and collaborations. Bearing that in mind, you find in this figure here, this figure, the relationships between the 3 design strategies here on the top, and the respective SDGs and targets here at the bottom. So the strategies are based on the centrality of SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, and the SDG 17, partnerships for the goals, as they are perceived as the guidelines for the 2 focal points requiring intervention in the circular economy. The first one is the specific characteristics of production and consumption process, as well as the second one is the process-related scale, respectively. Other SDGs and their related targets are also considered because of the multitude of areas that design for the fashion and the textile and apparel industries affects. Then on this slide, you can see the continuation of the figure, and it shows the targets identified in the context of the three proposed design strategies. And it's important to point out that the entire relationship with SDG does not imply articulating with all of its targets, but only those whose nature is relevant for the theme of the study. So here we can see the targets important, relevant for the study. Then here you can see the whole figure, the complete report. And the first, and we can say that the first two strategies designed for responsible production and consumption focus essentially on the development of the textile and apparel industries offered, combined with environmental efficiency management without neglecting design parameters such as functionalities, aesthetic attributes, market-compatible costs, and conformity with standards and legislation. The third strategy, designed for raising awareness about and enabling responsibility in the textile and apparel industry, includes recommendations for the present aiming at a preferred future, involving action at a more strategic level of design. It leverages the creation of a collaborative creative space that perceives systemic change as opportunities for the textile and apparel industry to transform its environmental profile. In theory, these strategies are perceived as complementary and dependent on simultaneous implementation. So it's understood that design must strive to simultaneously achieve efficiency and sufficiency in the contemporary relationship between production and consumption. In other words, design based on environmental concern is complex, and the three strategies proposed herein are a genuine attempt to contribute to a roadmap for the textile and apparel industry, as well as for designers and design schools, reducing the unpredictability of its journeys towards sustainable development. I always say so. So we consider that the study contributes with a theoretical and conceptual framework that combines design focus on environmental concerns and intergovernmental guidelines for sustainable development, particularly if the design has strategic information to thrive in the most relevant decision-making process for sustainability, and to rethink the development model based on production and consumption growth. From this perspective, although decisions that affect sustainability need to be made and on which design has little or no influence, this study allows us to see alternatives for the design area as an innovation vector, helping align the fashion and the textile and apparel industries with the sense of environmental responsibility appropriated for the spirit of the 21st century. So that's it. Thank you all.